Welcome to The Law, Your Money, and You. I'm Roberta Sapphire, an attorney in Sharon, Massachusetts,
And I'm Camille Barron, a healthcare advisor and financial coordinator, also in Sharon, Massachusetts. And Roberta, I'm very excited today because we have a wonderful guest who is multidimensional. That's all I'll say at the moment.
Okay, and we thank you for coming, Dr. Stephen Ross. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, thank you for inviting me here.
Thank
it's
you
a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
So I was born in Boston, raised in Boston. Actually went to Boston Latin School, BU Medical School, and actually Boston University undergrad for chemistry. And I've been practicing internal medicine in Sharon since 1976. I started part-time working for, remember Dr. Hirschfuss? I worked in his office part-time while I was still practicing, finishing up my internal medicine degree.
Well, you saw my kids 30 years ago.
Probably. I take care of 3, sometimes 4 generations.
No kidding.
Yeah.
You look good.
Well, thank you.
You look good for a 90-year-old. No, you look great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
you too also. Very beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
So today I understand we want to discuss some of the factors that are happening in the medical industry with respect also to the laws that have changed as well, and how it affects caregiving.
Yes, tell us all about that.
Well, of course, I grew up in what I would call the golden age of medicine, when it was very simple, a one-on-one. You called the doctor, he made house calls. It was, a family type of situation. And then what happened was, just like the rest of America, everything became corporatized. So no longer did you have the individual who wanted to go out and start his own business, but it was easy to just, join a group and get a paycheck and not have the responsibility of running a business.
Right.
And then, of course, we had changes in the law, which, the Obamacare, which complicated things because people now had to change doctors, get different types of coverage, and the cost of everything went up. And it forced more doctors to leave practice. In fact, I'm probably the only doctor in my graduating class that's independent now.
No kidding,
and everyone's
really?
either retired or forced to go into a group.
My.
So the problem with that is, if you want to get to talk to a doctor, it's extremely difficult because when you call anything that's a group, it's either, first you get called, if this is a medical emergency, call 911, and if you know your party's extension, then maybe you get a receptionist, and then maybe you get a nurse, and then maybe the doctor will call you back.
Maybe.
And the patient was getting farther and farther away from the care, and there were longer waits. So concierge medicine came into play, whereas if you limit the practice somewhat and someone gives you a little bit of a premium.
Excuse me, is that also what they call a boutique practice
Yeah,
now?
sort of a boutique practice, but in my case, it's not totally boutique because I didn't tell some of my patients that I was going boutique unless they paid a premium, they would have to leave. I still take care of my patients that I've always had for the last 40 years, but those that want extra service, and the extra service is this. They get a private cell number that they can call me directly anytime, night or day, offices, or on vacation. Also, the thing that they get is a very big, long wait time if you want to see a specialist. I have the specialist numbers, cell numbers in my pocket. So if I want to make it, like even today, I wanted to make an appointment for someone with a severe urological problem. And there were 2 things, and I treated a couple of things, and I said, it would be good to see if you can see the urologist. My secretary called the office and tried to get an appointment, which the earliest you can get is like a week. I said, have the doctor call me. Got him in the same day. He said, oh yeah, send him right over.
Oh,
So
yeah,
many
that's
times
a
I have the
difference.
doctor's numbers, whether it's a gastroenterologist, a surgeon, a urologist, a dermatologist. I can just pick up the phone and say, hey, Dr. So-and-so, I got this wonderful patient, needs to be seen right away. Can I send him over? And they just say, yep, send him right over. So they don't need an appointment, okay?
With a lot of boutique practices, I understand they can't even give you that service.
No one gets the type of service that we give because it's, usually they have covering physicians at night or people that don't know you on weekends. So mine is the only one that was a direct, doctor-to-doctor patient relationship. So the other thing that we do is the derivative of doctor comes from the Latin to teach. So I try to not just hand out pills to people and make diagnoses and referrals. I like to teach them about what their health is, what their health risks are. So my background is chemistry, and everything in life is chemistry. Everything that you do, you think, you move, you walk, you make you keep your 98.6 temperature, there's a chemical reaction going on every minute, every second. There is a computer software, chemical computer software in your body that organizes and orchestrates all that. It's called DNA.
Oh,
DNA is chemical computer software.
No kidding. Is that what?
That's what it is.
Wow.
And it runs all the systems and all the chemistry of your body. And you get 23andMe, you get 23 chromosomes from your
Yeah,
father,
yeah.
23 from your mother.
Right.
All your chemistry is there. That's why the Progressive commercial, you're going to look like your father, you're going to look like your mother, and as time goes by you do, because you have all the chemistry. And you inherit some good things, you inherit some bad things. You inherit your height. You inherit to a certain extent your intelligence. You inherit your personality, as well as your bone structure, the color
No
of your,
kidding, really.
whether you have curly hair, straight hair, all of that. So we try to go through the family history, the grandparents, the aunts, the uncles, the brothers, the sisters. How long did they live? What did they die from? So we're building a picture of what the DNA structure is without actually swabbing the inside of the mouth, which we will be able to someday, send it out to a lab and say, you're going to get heart disease, you're going to get cancer, and it's going to come at this time.
Yeah.
Okay? But we indirectly are building what I call a health risk profile. So you know what the risks are for that person, and then what you do is you put into play nutrition, exercise, emotional support, decreasing stress to put off the inevitable. Because the inevitable is death, taxes, and change, right?
Right.
Okay. So, and the other thing I wanted to mention is there's less and less time with the pressure of being a corporate doctor, I'll use the expression. You have to see so many patients per such and such because you have to the corporation has to make a profit, okay? But those people want to, they want to start at 9, they want to be out at 5. In this situation, it's not necessarily 9 to 5. You might start at 8 and get out at 7 because you want to spend an extra time treating not just the body, but the mind and the spirit.
Excuse me, how many doctors do you think are now following what you do as opposed to the corporate or even what used to be? I would assume.
Well, more and more are, and there actually are some entrepreneurs that are organizing doctors into groups of concierge doctors, like MDVIP or Signature, or there's another one. But there again, you're part of a corporation. There's going to be certain pressures on you and certain fees and things that you have to pay. But in mine, which is very independent, we want not to just to treat the body, the diabetes and the high blood pressure, or get that cancer early and cut it out so you don't have to worry about it. But we want to treat the quality of life, which means the mind. Are there any signs of dementia? The spirit. I usually ask people, are you religious and do you believe in God and do you believe in after death, a life after death, to get an idea of what their philosophy of life is, or what is the meaning to your life? Is there a meaning to your life? And then we also talk about stress. Stress is a killer. And smoking. I hate to tell you how many times I say smoking is suicide. Okay?
Is the effect of smoking, that secondhand smoke, worse than the smoking, or?
No, okay, but it can be just as bad if someone's your husband or your wife or somebody is a chain smoker, or you're in an office where you're getting a lot of smoke. Because if we go back to chemistry again, when you talk about smoking or even grilling, and you burn something, there's something called the Herxheimer reaction. It means you are making 3,000 chemicals simultaneously when you're grilling something or when you're smoking something. And you're putting that into your body, and you don't know which of those 3,000 chemicals is going to turn on the gene for cancer.
Oh boy.
Okay?
So if somebody lives in an apartment building and their neighbor smokes and it goes into their apartment, what is that's just as bad, isn't it?
It can be just as bad, and you might want to consult an attorney about getting something installed to prevent the smoke from leaking from one apartment to another.
Yeah,
'Cause
I heard
it's
that
a health
they do have
hazard.
that. Yeah, I heard that They do have that.
So the other thing that we talk to the patients about, which has to do with my going for getting a degree in certified financial planning from BU, which is a series of 7 courses that you take. Everything from a course that gives you a summation of what you're going to learn, and then there's a course on retirement, and then there's one on taxes, and there was one, and right now I'm finishing one on estate planning. The cost of medicine is going so sky high. There was an article that they just discovered a drug to treat a certain type of heart condition called amyloid. It's going to cost a person, and some people are paying it $250,000 a year for one medicine. It's only going to prolong their life for 3 or 4 more years. So we talk about the costs of that. We also talk about long-term care, because there is a hidden tsunami of dementia out in the community. I mean, as we all get older, we're going to forget things. You run to the refrigerator, you get something, you forget when you run to the closet to get something, you forget what, and then it comes back to you. That's normal. But more and more people are developing either dementia of the Alzheimer's type, or dementia from atherosclerosis, hardening of the arteries. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that causes dementia too.
Yeah. If you have your arteries to your brain get smaller and smaller and less flow, you get mini strokes.
Well,
I
years
see.
ago, they used to call it hardening of the
Yeah,
arteries. They
hardening of the
never
arteries.
called it Alzheimer's.
Yeah, no, but Alzheimer's is a different disease.
It's different?
Yeah, that's where you get neurofibrillary tangles of amyloid and tau protein that are found in the brain, and they don't know exactly why. Although it must have something to do with immunity, because the amyloid protein is a waste factor of the immune system when it breaks down, and you're getting rid of it from the body. So you have a lot of companies like Biogen and Genzyme working on creating antibodies to clear amyloid protein out of the body, or immunizing against amyloid protein. So
You think that's curable, Alzheimer's? You're talking about...
Well, with genetics, everything is curable. Once they get down to there are genes, regulatory genes for the immunity. Once you understand the genes, you're going to be able to, there's turn-on switches and turn-off switches. You'll be able to cure cancer easily with one drug once the genetic code is fully understood. Cancer will be gone.
Isn't that wonderful?
Now, getting back to the price of that one medication, how do we control that? I mean, how do people afford maybe a life-saving drug?
You really have to have some sort of a board of regulation with respect to pricing. Well, first of all, you need transparency, and I think that there was a signature, I think there was a presidential signature that was trying to get everybody in all the hospitals to expose, I'm going to use the word expose, the pricing that they have. Now, people don't know here that in Massachusetts, certain groups like the Partners Group, which has Mass General and Brigham and Women's, contract separately with Blue Cross than, say, a Stewart or a Beth Israel. And doctors that give exactly the same treatment get paid differently depending upon what group they're in. It depends upon who's a good enough negotiator with the insurance companies. And there's no rhyme or reason for it. It's all who's a
So
better.
it could be the same insurance company, but...
The same
Yeah.
insurance company will pay different providers different amounts of money for the same procedure depending upon what the contract says for the group that they're in. Plus, there are incentives that are built in
Boy.
that I call disincentives. So that if everybody wants to keep everybody in their own group because they're given a share of money for the number of people that are in, say, Partners, for the number in the Beth Israel, and the people that are in Stewart. And if people go and crisscross and go out of there, they're losing money because certain groups like Mass General, you can pay twice or 3 times as much money for an MRI at Mass General as you do if you go to Norwood Hospital, and people don't know that. And if you have large deductibles and you have to have copays, you might be paying a copay for $6,000 for an MRI here and $3,000 for an MRI here, and that's a lot less money out of your pocket. And there's not that much of a difference between a radiologist reading it here versus a radiologist reading it here. Sometimes the equipment up here might be a teeny bit more modern and give you one number or two or a color or two that's a little bit more meaningful, but it's not worth the difference in the price that you're
Isn't there a
paying.
difference too in the price if a hospital puts you down that even though you're admitted, if they say you're admitted, but you're still an outpatient as opposed
Yeah,
to...
exactly, there's observation versus admitting.
Oh, yeah.
And then there are restrictions, there are some new penalties that if somebody gets admitted for the same illness within the 30-day period, the money is taken back for the, say you went in for pneumonia, and you were in the hospital for 5 days, Medicare will pay a certain amount for that diagnosis of pneumonia. If you get readmitted for another pneumonia within 30 days, they wipe out the payment and you don't get paid. They don't get paid for either one.
Really?
I mean, the system is totally, totally strange.
Now tell me something. Way back in the era when managed care was introduced and the HMOs and so forth, I know that created a whole bureaucracy. But in more recent years, in 2010, when the Affordable Care Act was passed, that also created a whole new system. And the whole idea of the pre-existing conditions came about. And now, of course, there's discussions about whether or not pre-existing conditions will continue to be covered. But how did that, in your experience, how did that affect you as a medical practitioner and your practice?
Not very much, because I never remember anything about pre-existing conditions ever preventing anybody from getting care before that subject was ever brought up. Mm-hmm. It's like, where did that come from? Does it really matter? It's sort of like a red flag, a yellow flag, something to wave and get people's emotions.
They couldn't get insurance in the past if they had pre-existing conditions.
Well, maybe
or
not,
they
not
get
life
higher
insurance.
rate.
Maybe not life insurance.
Even health insurance.
Yeah. Well, maybe
At a higher, or
yeah,
they would either be disapproved or they'd have to pay a higher rate.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing about insurance rate, it's pooled protection. You know. So, like, if you have three accidents, your rates are going to go up, right? So I don't know what the ethical, moral thing is that if you're sicker or you get the diabetes, whether you should be rated more or not. Probably not. But that's where it could have come in.
They are rated more, not anymore, but in other types of insurance that are voluntary, like the long-term care or individual disability insurance, they are either rated higher or they're just completely not approved.
Exactly. If they're going to lose money on you,
that's right.
They're not going to. They're not in business to lose money.
No,
they're in business to make money.
Right.
All right. So either they're betting that you're going to be healthy and not need it, or you're going to pass before you're going to need the long health care insurance.
Right. And the other thing that's happening, getting back to the insurance side of it, and obviously you have to be very much involved with the insurance side.
Right.
The very fact that you have to accept patients with pre-existing conditions, and the insurance companies have to accept them. We're finding in the work that I do, we're finding that not so much here, but in other parts of the country, the insurance companies are not offering individual insurance anymore for people under 65. The only way you can get it is on the public health exchange.
Individual medical insurance?
Yeah, on the healthcare.gov.
Never understood
People can go
that
there.
stuff.
But like United Healthcare no longer offers individual health coverage for people under 65.
Yeah, because
So
everything's Medicare with the Part A and the Part B is basically paid for by the government.
Right.
But the reason that you have the health insurance is to pay for the deductibles and the copays of Part C, and then Part D, the prescription coverage.
Yeah.
Which, of course, as you know, there's like 3 different tiers. So that what you really have to do is try to figure out what medicines you're on and what tiers are covered. And in my recommendation is I always think it's always best to have the best coverage. So I would always go for the highest tier. So God forbid you needed a chemotherapy medicine that was very expensive. There's a greater chance that that's going to be covered.
So what do people do? Like I'm an attorney and I still don't understand it, no matter how much is explained to me. What do people do who don't want to sit there and read and examine? We call Camille?
You have to go to a special. I mean, my wife, we have regular insurance for my family. And from Blue Cross Blue Shield, every year she has to sit down with a pamphlet for hours, comparing the deductibles and the premiums till the last year and decide what we're going to do. We're going to have a big deductible.
That's more
or
than a
not.
full-time job.
It
It's
is.
a
You have to.
double-time
Yeah.
job. I
it's-
take
you-
it and dump it. Who
But,
can they talk to? Your wife?
Well, maybe a certified financial planner is supposed to be certified
Yes.
in advising on insurance. There's a whole course on what's called risk management. They don't call it insurance.
And that's what you're taking up?
That's
So
what I'm
when-
taking
So when
up.
you become a certified financial planner, that'll just fold right
we would
into?
be if I have we would be able to sit down and pick out the right insurance for the person
That's
with the
wonderful.
right medicines and the right coverage.
See, I always thought a certified financial planner was just for the stocks and bonds, and
No,
that was it.
what it does is it involves the entire financial security,
That's wonderful.
especially when you're older, because it determines, when you're going to retire, how long you're going to live, how much money you're going to need to live on a budget compared to your quality of life before, and how are you going to meet the requirements for long-term care. Are you going to use the assets that you have unprotected and use that to pay for your long-term care? Because you might go into assisted living first and then into a nursing home
Right.
finally if you're not lucky enough to die before then.
Yeah,
Well,
I've had somebody who said, I lived too long.
Yeah, I hear that
They
all
were
the time.
all right, but they lived too long, so they...
Well, if you
know-
get to the right facility that has the right people with the right attitude and the smiles on their face and get you up and interact and connect, then they wouldn't say that. The problem about people saying I've lived too long is everybody that they know has passed and they're lonely and they've lost connections to other people. And one of the things about being happy is having those connections. So you have to make connections with other people no matter how old you get. And that's one of the things that we emphasize in the mind, body, spirit approach.
Not just to pay bills. I've heard people who are still in their houses, and they go, I don't have enough money.
Some people have to make a decision between medicines and food.
That's terrible.
There's, about living too long, the fact that the medicine has changed so much and it's not as common for people to die suddenly anymore because of the medical intervention. So people live longer. And, living too long, you have to worry about what's going to happen
I'm not going.
as you decline in capability.
Well, remember-
and
I'm not going.
and getting back to the CFP,
Yeah.
the real worry and the risk today in retirement is that
It's
you're going to outliving your
outliving
assets.
your money. Yeah,
Yes.
there's a word for that.
Yeah.
But- well, that brings back the fact that you have to make certain plans for the future. Like one of the things I'm always asking my patients, first of all, do you have a will? You wouldn't believe how many people don't have wills.
Yeah.
Number two, if you want to avoid probate, which is a
That's
long
another
court thing to decide whose assets and where does it go and all that stuff, it can take 6 months to 18 months. You need to put things in what's called a revocable trust. So that your
that's what you're saying.
revocable trust, which means you can change who the beneficiaries are, you can change who the trustees are, you can change the terminology, but it doesn't go through probate. When they get together and divide all the assets, the lawyer says this is yours, and boom, that's it. No court. Then if you want to,
But you need a lot. I mean,
you need an elders affair attorney or a
Yeah,
attorney
but-
that's certified in
but this-
estate planning.
Yeah, but that's so...
Then if you want to protect your house from Medicaid,
you're talking a
So you
lot
have-
of paperwork.
it's not that much
Yeah.
paperwork. Say you have a house that's worth $500,000 and you want to leave something for your children. Well, if you put that in what's called a grantor irrevocable trust, it's no longer yours, even though you're living there until you
Right.
pass. So that when you pass, it's not in your estate, and Medicaid can't take money out of it if it's been there for 5 years. It's called
long
a
as
5-year
it's-
look back.
Yeah, the irrevocable.
Irrevocable. So you give it up, but it's in your beneficiaries are your children. They get it when you pass. You're going to give it to them
But
anyway.
then the people want to sell it
Yeah, you can sell it.
in an irrevocable.
Yeah,
I
you can sell
think you
it.
have to get the beneficiaries to agree.
We had 2 condos that were in the
Oh, yeah.
irrevocable trust, and we sold them, and the proceeds went into the account.
Yeah, say example, your mother was living in a house, and she couldn't live there anymore. But you didn't want her to go to assisted living, so you brought her into your house, and you're going to take care of her for a while. You could sell her house. And that house stays
It
in the.
depends on how the trust is
Well,
written.
exactly, absolutely. That's why you need
that's
somebody
it.
who knows
Yeah,
the minute details of a trust. It's a very, very specialized thing.
it is.
And if you have the right person, they can write the trust so that it is just wiggle room enough that if you need to get some money out of the trust for the care of somebody else earlier than this person
Yeah, well,
dying,
that's how you
there
write
are
it.
certain things called
Yeah.
the HEMS rule for health, education, support, and maintenance. Money can be taken out before the person dies. So so I'm learning all of these different things, which I can tell. I mean, I'm not going to be practicing as a CFP. I'm going to stay as doctor, but I want to be able to, educate. So not only educating health, nutrition, exercise, stress reduction,
That's
spirituality,
wonderful.
but financial
That's
security.
wonderful.
And the other thing that I learned that was very interesting.
You've got to be kidding now, but that's okay. Go ahead. 'Cause
Okay.
that's a
That's all
good
right.
one.
Go
That's a
ahead.
good one.
So the other thing that's very important that people don't realize, there's something called a health savings account, which is more applicable
yeah.
to people under 65. But if you have a large deductible insurance policy, where you have to, a lot of copays and things like $7,000 deductibility for the whole family, you can put money either from your company or from your personal finances
Right.
into an HSA, tax-free, or with deductions. It accumulates on the stock market if you want tax-free, and when you take it out, it's tax-free. So it's triple tax-free. You can let it accumulate till you're 65. You can pay out of your pocket for expenses for eyeglasses and
I thought that
LASIK.
has to be through an employer, though.
No, you can open one up with
that's different
Fidelity or Charles Schwab. All you have to do is show them that you have a large deductible policy.
And when you turn 65, you can
Fascinating.
continue to withdraw the proceeds. You just can't contribute to it
Right, you
anymore.
can't contribute. And the thing is, you can use the proceeds from that to pay for your long-term care insurance. And the reason for long-term care insurance is to protect your assets. If you don't have any assets, you don't have any money in the bank, you don't have a house,
Right.
you don't need long-term care insurance, the state's going to take care of you.
Do you realize, very subject you talked about, there's probably a year course on that topic?
Well,
and
that's-
then God knows if it'll change.
It does, it changes all the time.
Yeah.
Because the deduction, it's called the exemption for inheritance tax, which right now you can die and you can leave $11.4 million to your children, estate
each
tax-free.
I know, each
But it used to be
person.
$600,000
They went up.
15 or 20 years ago, and it was 5.3.
That's for the federal.
That's for the
Not so
federal, but
lucky
the
on
state tax is
state.
$1 million.
Yeah, that's
So it's
ridiculous.
very, very complicated, and
Yeah.
that's why,
Yeah.
We got 2 minutes. We got 2 minutes, but this you'll find very interesting. We have a part which says you've got to be kidding. And a lot of the stuff you talk to, you're very fascinating, by the way. And whoever has you is wonderful. They're lucky.
I'm a
because,
patient of his.
Yeah, because, I mean, you can see beyond.
Oh, he definitely.
And you started the talk with that it's more than just their body, it's their mind too, it's their help. I mean, that is wonderful. I hope more and
Thank
more
you.
physicians do that. But this is, the whole thing is you've got to be kidding. But one of the things that you've got to be kidding.
let's show the viewers our bag.
Oh yeah, that's
Because
not
it's-
bad.
YGTBK, you've got to be kidding.
And
That's
that
our
bag's
bag.
gone through a lot too. But
Yeah.
this is from one of the cable TV people. We try to bring out. I should have brought two our newsletter, and our newsletter every month. And sometimes we'll do just a show about scams. There's always a scam. But here's basically, if you want to go on this one, like if you have a dead phone or a laptop, you're at the airport and you have a station there where somebody says, "Oh, just put your phone on here or your
I have to
laptop
get
on
my
here." Have you
glasses.
seen that?
Yeah, I saw the same thing, but I can't read it without my glasses. Well, we can just set a shorten.
Yeah, I would just shorten it. They're saying, "Watch out for that. Don't do it."
Yeah, so apparently, in some places,
There's a lot
like
there.
airports and things like that, where where you might not have your charger, your phone charger with you.
yeah.
So you can,
This is
they
a
might have
new
one
scam.
that's,
They might-
you can
yeah.
charge your phone at one of these
They may have
places.
some spyware in there.
And there's,
Yeah.
there's.
Basically, that's what it is.
That's what it is, and they can hack passwords, data,
I would end with that.
locking up the gadgets, making them unusable. So you have to be very, very,
They're going to
Yeah,
have
Careful.
that
wrap up.
ransomware. Yeah.
Yeah, so
and it says there, don't believe everything you see, and don't believe everything you get your hands on, including on Black Friday, because if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. And that's going to have to be a wrap.
yeah, I just
This-
want to end up with, these are some of the pages in our book for the police officers are our friends. We're about 24 books to the police.
Is that one with a canine?
Yeah. No, the canine.
I'm getting the signal.
The canines are getting a lot of play ever since.
I'm getting the signal, so we better.
Okay, we gotta go. But yeah, they get
Thank
it.
you
We
so
don't
much.
charge
It was
anything.
wonderful to hear, and maybe we'll have you come back.
Oh, you wanted me.
Fantastic.
I wanted to say that I like a patient to bring me something every time they come in.
Oh.
That's a sense of humor.
Oh,
All right,
we have to
wrap up.
Camille,
We have to do our closing. Thank you for watching.
Yes.
Sorry we have to go quickly, but
Yes.
we just went through this very fast. And I want to thank you so much, and please let us hear from you if you have any ideas or suggestions or any questions, because remember, this is your show, the law, your money, and you.